story that people learned a long time ago, and they kept telling people, and it got more and more exciting. Well, sometimes with legends, one person learns it one way and one person learns it a little different. So my story might be a little different than Miss Nancy's, but that's just kind of a fun thing about legends. Yeah? So I might need some of you guys who already heard the story yesterday to help me out a little bit, okay? Yes, I know you're ready to help me. Okay, so at the bottom of the hill, at the very edge of the kingdom, what was there?
The Blue River.
The great big blue river, right? And this was part of the king's special area in the kingdom. And then on the very edge of the blue river, kind of guarded by the outer space cats, was the giant green
grass.
The green fields, yeah.
That green is a nice color.
And then, in the middle, the king and the queen had a special pet, and they shared him, and he was very, very old. And this cat had only one whisker left because he was so, so old. And now this cat was kind of a funny one. And you know how your pets have their own personalities. Well, this cat was very particular. He did not like to be picked up by anybody unless he asked them to. And he had a special signal about how he would ask people to pick him up. If he wanted the queen to pick him up, he would take his tail and he would point it up like this towards the queen's part of the kingdom. And that meant she had permission to pick him up. But if not, he'd get really angry and kind of scratch at her. All right? So she always had to make sure and look and make sure he was pointing his tail towards her, right? And sometimes he liked the king to play with him, and so he would take his tail and he would point it way down there. And that meant the king could have permission to pick him up. So our one crazy, picky, old pink cat was right here in the middle, doesn't he? Okay? And then we come to the queen's part of the kingdom. And she lives on the pink
and yellow
the pink mountain, right?
Pink mountains.
And then up above the pink mountains, there's lots and lots and lots of yellow
sunshine.
Very good.
That one's like drying out very quickly.
Yeah, I know. Now, today I'm going to tell you about the queen. Now, the queen was the queen of a magical kingdom, and everybody in the kingdom thought she was just the most beautiful queen ever. Now, to us, she might look a little crazy, but in this kingdom, she was just, everybody thought she was fantastic. And she wore all sorts of things, and she had some crazy, crazy friends. So, I've already told you about her one whiskered cat, and he was pretty funny. But she also had a giant elephant.
Mm-hmm.
And he lived in her garden. And she had like a whole zoo in her garden. And he walked around and he liked to eat all the flowers down at the edge of it. And he was right down here. He would just eat all the flowers down on the ground. But he kind of made a mess. And so the queen said, "Ha! I've got to get somebody with a special job." You know, do you guys have dogs? Yeah. Do they ever kind of poop in the yard?
So my neighbors have 3 dogs. They like, sometimes I've seen poop on the sidewalk, and when I go to their house and ask them, "Why is there poop on the sidewalk?" And they tell me it's from their dog.
Right, but the queen didn't like to step in the elephant stuff because elephants are big, so they kind of make a big mess. And so she said, well, this can't be here. So she got a special friend, and he was called the Dirty Duty Dog.
Dirty Duty Dog.
And that's because he had a special job to pick up all the dirty duties from the elephant. But this dog was tiny, tiny, tiny. He was a little one. He was kind of about Sunny's size. And he would run around underneath the elephant and pick up all of his messes. Isn't that crazy? Now, the queen also had in her zoo that was basically in her front yard, she had another pet.
Oh no.
A giraffe. Yeah. She did have another pet, but pet had a super nose. Could smell her from miles and miles and miles around. And the queen kind of wanted to be by herself sometimes, so she's like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll disguise my smell so that I can be by myself. So you know what she did? She picked all these beautiful flowers that smelled wonderful, and she put them around her feet, all right? So that they smelled beautiful. So she could walk around in the flowers, and so she smelled like the flowers, and so her crazy pet with the super nose didn't even know she was there.
What is that?
Well, the queen's plan didn't work very well, because this pet had the craziest nose ever. He could smell even the tiniest little sniff of queen smell.
What?
And so she's walking around in the flowers with her flowery feet all dressed up so she smells wonderful, and all of a sudden she hears the feet. And it was little tiny footsteps. And do you know what this crazy pet was that she had? It was the world's smallest giraffe. And it was a pink giraffe. And it only came up to her knees. It was about this tall. And can you know what the giraffe's name was? Gigi.
Gigi the giraffe.
Isn't that funny? And Gigi was about this tall, and she was the world's smallest pink giraffe ever. And she's the one that had the super nose. And every time she would smell the queen, she would come running out and she'd go, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. Can I have some snacks, please? And she would nibble on her knees. And the queen was like, oh man, here she goes again. This giraffe is always hungry. And you know what her favorite snack was?
Apple.
Apples. And the queen would always keep in her apron pocket right here, she would always keep some stash of apples just for her friend Gigi. But she had to make sure she kept them up here so that Gigi wouldn't just eat them. Otherwise, Gigi would make herself sick by eating too many of them. Right? But apples are kind of heavy. And so one day the queen put all these apples in her apron pocket, and she was walking around, and all of a sudden, poof, they all fell out and her apron fell off because it was too heavy. So she had to pick up all the apples, but Gigi ate them up so fast that she got a really bad tummy ache. So the queen says, oh, I gotta do something about this so I don't keep dropping all my apples. So she got this giant, enormous pink bow. And she said, this will hold it up. So she tied on her apron full of apples with this huge pink bow. It was just like this big. And sometimes, you know, she would even walk through the door and she'd get stuck because her bow was so giant. You know? And there were all these pink flowers around on the mountain. And guess what? Some of the queen's butterflies that flew around in her yard, they got a little confused, and they thought that the queen's pink bow was a bunch of flowers. So they decided that it would be their new home. So all these butterflies came and landed on the queen's pink bow. And they said, oh, this is really pretty. So they decided to live there. And so from then on, everywhere the queen went, she has her huge pink bow and was covered in pink butterflies. Isn't that funny? And you know what? She also had some other friends that lived on top of her bow. Do you remember the queen's outer space yellow kittens?
Yes.
You know, their favorite place to sit was on top of that big pink bow.
What?
Yes, because it was very soft, and the queen liked to cuddle with them, and they could just sit right on top of the bow and ride around, and go with the queen. And it was really their favorite place because, kittens are kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
They like to chase stuff. Well, the queen had all kinds of interesting things for them to chase around. They could chase around and play with the butterflies that sat on her bow. Or the queen had this special, special necklace. And the king gave it to her for her birthday one time. And you know what it was? It was made of all these giant diamonds, but it was a magical necklace. And they were called the disco dancing diamonds. Can you say that?
Disco dancing.
And if you said the magic words to them, they would start flashing and blinking and dancing, and they would just dance all around her neck. And the kittens thought it was the best thing ever, and they would chase the diamonds. And so pretty soon, the queen would have dancing diamonds everywhere, and the kitties are running round and round and attacking them. It just got madness. So she didn't really let the diamonds dance too much because the kittens would get kind of crazy. So she had to save it for special occasions. Now, the dancing diamonds also like to get crazy. They would just dance and dance and dance and dance. And sometimes if they danced too hard, they would bump into her giant earrings. Now, the queen had these very special earrings. Now, these were not from the king. Do you remember long ago when the evil prince had the curse?
Yes.
And it turned her in. What did it turn her into?
A golden goose.
A golden goose. Now, the queen learned lots of things when she was turned into a golden goose because
Just
you
like
remember.
the king when he was turned into a frog.
Yeah. And you know, she was kind of lonely. And you remember she had one special goose who was friends with her? Goldie. She was like the weird old grandma, but she was really nice to her. And the queen said, you know what? I never want to forget about Goldie. I want to, even when I'm queen, I want to remember that I should always be nice to people who are kind of alone because you never know who they might be. They might be a secret queen. And so the geese, as a gift to her when she turned back into the queen, they gave her these beautiful Easter eggs made out of goose eggs. And she turned them into earrings. They were great big goose eggs. They were huge ones. And they were Easter eggs. They were painted all kinds of pink and yellow and pretty colors. And so she wore them every day to always remember what she learned when she had, you know, turned into a goose. So she had to be careful that the diamonds didn't bump into them. Right. Now these Easter eggs were beautiful, and they even have like some gold on them. And there was kind of a problem though. The queen wore them outside and it was really bright and sunny, and the sun started reflecting off of the Easter eggs and it got really bright, and guess what happened? She sunburned her ears just because the Easter eggs were so bright, and it really, really hurt. She said, but I don't want to not wear my Easter eggs. They were so special to me. And Goldie popped out and she said, I have a wonderful idea. So you know what she did? What? She made this crazy crown made out of feathers, and it all hung down over the queen's ears so that she wouldn't get sunburned anymore. She said, oh, this is a great idea. It kind of shades my ears. It's all fluffy and soft. And she's like, hey, it's kind of pretty too. See, I told you, we think she's crazy, that she thought she looked great. Anyway, so she wore these funny feathers all over her ears to keep them nice and, you know, shaded. And well, Goldie, even though she was the one that gave her the feathers, guess what happened one day?
What?
Goldie was kind of old. She couldn't see very well. She had to wear these goggles, right? Well, she's flying along, and she looks down. She says, oh, looky there. That looks like a lovely nest. And she goes, and right on the queen's head. Oh, look, there's some nice little feathers. I think I'll just make my nest right here. Well, she's sitting there, you know, getting all comfortable, and then the queen says, why are you sitting on my head? And Goldie kind of peeps in and goes, oh, hey there. I thought this was a good nesting spot. But, you know, the queen was friends with Goldie, and it was kind of warm, you know. It was like a hat sitting on her head. So she said, okay, it's fine. You can stay up there. You know, and the queen kind of liked it because she always had somebody to talk to, you know. Goldie was her old friend, so she kind of stayed there. But Goldie had problems because she couldn't see very well. And you know, she got confused by the queen's head. She also got confused and didn't have a real good sense of balance, so sometimes she would kind of slip off. And the queen said, well, this is just not going to work. She's like, I'm going to let you live up there. We're going to have to make sure that there's somebody looking after you. So the queen had a guardian angel who agreed that she would pay special attention to Goldie so that she wouldn't fall
Guardian
off.
angel.
So there was a
cool.
little tiny angel, and she would fly around right over top of Goldie up here and make sure that if she got a little off balance, she would kind of help her to stay up there so she wouldn't fall around. Now this angel was also super busy because not only did she have to look after Goldie and make sure that she didn't fall off the queen's head, right? She also had to look up above her and protect the queen's baby birds. Now, the queen lived in this lovely mountain, and there was a very tall tree right here, and it had 2 branches. And the queen's, and on the bottom branch was where the angel kind of sat around, and she would, bookshelf, not a tree. Anyway, and the queen had a really, really tall bookshelf, and the angel would kind of fly around on the bottom bookshelf and kind of make sure she kept Goldie safe and everything. But the queen had some baby birds, and they would sing to her all day. and make her very happy. And they go, and the queen also had, remember her big lazy top cat that we learned about earlier?
Yeah.
Who wore the funny hat and sat up on the very top. He was super, super lazy, never went anywhere. He always sat on her second bookshelf, way at the very top of the queen's bedroom. He would tell her stories all the time, but he had one pet peeve. Didn't like those baby birds. And they were just like little kids, you know. And they liked to tickle his tail and peck at him and stuff. And he did not like it. And he had this big fluffy tail, and he would go and try to knock them away, right? And those baby birds just never learned. They were always going bad at him, and he would go with his tail, right? So the angel had to be really, really on top of it. She got to keep Goldie on the queen's head, and then she's got to look up and keep the baby birds safe from that crazy cat. So she just had a lot of work to do.
Why
So-
can't there just be 2 guardian angels?
I don't know. The queen just had one. Maybe it was a little crowded in her bedroom because she had that cat and she had all those baby birds and she has Goldie the goose and the angel. I don't think there was any room for anybody else.
No.
But anyway, so as you see, the queen was kind of nuts. Okay, so can you all stand up real quick? Okay, so who lived in the middle in between the king and the queen? And here's your hint.
The one with the cat.
Yes, and if he was very cranky and only wanted the queen to pick him up, where did he point his tail?
Up.
Up to the queen, right? And if he wanted the king to play with him, where would he put his tail?
Down.
Pointed down to the king, right? Now, at the very bottom, on line number 1, at the bottom of the queen's garden, she had her great big pet who made lots of messes. Who was that?
The elephant.
Elephant. And underneath the elephant down here, who had a special job to clean up?
Dirty duty
Yes,
dog.
the dirty duty dog was underneath the elephant. Now, when the queen went out, what did she do to kind of be secret? So she could smell real nice. What did she put around her feet?
Flower.
Yeah, she put flour around her feet. But who found her anyway?
Gigi giraffe.
And Gigi the giraffe would nibble right here. What line is that? Line number 1, line number 2.
Gigi.
And then there's Gigi. And what did Gigi like to eat?
Apple.
Apples. And where did the queen keep it? Right in her pockets in her apron. Very good.
Bow.
And her apron was so heavy. And what did she have to hold it up with?
The giant bow.
Bow. And
No,
it
it's
lived on that bow.
covered. There. Big butterflies.
I know. And who liked to sit on top of it
The cat.
so that the queen could cuddle? Yeah, her little spacey cats. And they like to play with something right here.
Oh, the dancing disco.
The dancing disco. Now, what line do you think the disco diamonds would be on? Line number
4.
Yeah, very good. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's the disco diamonds. Okay, and then the disco diamonds, if they got too crazy, guess what they bumped into?
The golden ears.
Her Easter egg earrings, right? And she had a problem with them. What did they do to her ears?
They got sunburned.
Uh-oh, so what did she have to wear over top of them?
Feathers.
Yeah, and this is line number
5.
Yeah, so the feathers are on number 5. Can we find the feathers?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There's the feathers. And somebody got a little confused
Goldie.
and decided to sit on top of her feathers, right? Okay, so Goldie lived right here. And who had to stay right above Goldie?
The angel.
The angel. And who else did she have to look after that was way up high on the branch?
Birds.
The
Baby
little
birds.
baby birds. And who was way up high that liked to push them away?
The cat.
The top cat. Very good.
It's called the top cat because it's on the way